Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Business and Experts Forum. We are in season two. Can you believe that? Season two, episode one. So, for those who are new to this program, Business and Experts Forum is a platform for developing people and businesses through knowledge sharing. What we do is simply sharing knowledge with people, knowledge from experts. The forum features successful business executives, budding businesses, and prospective entrepreneurs. We also highlight the progress and achievement made by people willing to go the extra mile to improve their lifestyles and the lifestyles of those around them. And we do this by discussing some of the strategies and the approaches that they have used. The forum also features experts and specialists in their respective fields coming to share knowledge on everyday topical issues such as technology, finance, medicine, engineering, entertainment, social media, and the law, just to name a few. So, if you are someone who wants to either go into business, improve your business processes, or gain knowledge, or if you want to develop your passion and talent into a business venture, then this forum is for you. We are live every 2 weeks on Mondays at 7 p.m. British Summer Time. So please remember to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell to receive notifications whenever there is a new episode. Tonight, we have with us Mr. Steve Obridge, who is the National Sales Director of Genistar Limited, a financial services organization that is changing lives financially around the UK. Through the implementation of the right principles and strategies over the years, Genistar has become the fastest growing financial services company in the UK and the third largest financial brokerage company. Mr. Obridge is an inspiring and passionate trainer and speaker on a personal mission to change lives in a practical way by empowering people with the relevant skills to change their financial landscape. He has over 34 years of experience in sales, business, and training, and is uniquely equipped to train and mentor people to gain sound financial footing, having been a victim of overburdening debt himself. Steve's personal mission statement is whatever time to spend with someone, make that time valuable in their life. He's here to share some of the principles and strategies on financial planning and financial security, and also to share some of the success stories from clients. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Steve Obridge to the Business and Experts Forum.
Good evening.
Wow, Steve, welcome to Business and Experts Forum. It's lovely to have you on the program.
It's a pleasure to be here, Marcus.
Good. Before we start asking you questions, I just want to quickly read out briefly what something that I read from the Financial Times um, some time ago. It's actually said, and this is articles about financial literacy, and one of the things that Financial Times stated was that more than ever, now more than ever, financial literacy has become a matter of urgency. And also, there is a lady by name Catherine McGuinness, who is a policy chief at the City of London Corporation. And she wrote an article in the Financial Times highlighting the scale of the current global economic crisis and then how that would highlight the gaps in people's financial understanding as well as exacerbating their problems. She says that at a time when national and personal finances are taking a hit, it's more important than ever that people understand complicated concepts such as interest rates and inflation. She went on to say that if you are to have a sustainable recovery, it is vital that people understand how their financial decisions will affect them over the short, medium, and long term. Also, the executive secretary of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, wrote in an article that in the COVID crisis, young people have been more impacted by over indebtedness. This was put in by their executive secretary, and Flor Mercy. She says that young people also have lower levels of financial literacy. These, when you listen to these statements by key people, and also look at what's happening around us globally, looking at the UK, especially where we have issues with energy prices and all of that, that tells you how important it is for people to have what we call financial planning and also make sure that they are financially secure. So I'm just going to start by asking you, Steve, in a very simple layman's language, what is a financial plan?
Well, like any plan, Marcus, is it's quite simply. You need to know where you're going. It's like a journey. You need to know what your destination is. You need to know where you are, and then you need to know what steps you need to take to get from point A to point B. It's the same with finance as it is with anything. So, in terms of what is a financial plan, well, that's kind of in its basic form is what it is. Of course, there's things that make that up, but that's kind of its basic format.
Okay, that's very good, and that's I like that. I like that layman's language, so everybody can simply understand that. Because sometimes when we use, I mean, financial terms, people find it being more like jargons, and they cannot really get a hang of it. But once we speak in layman's language, everybody seems to understand that. Now, you've had experience of 34 years in looking at people, having interactions with clients, and understanding their positions and trying to educate them financially. I
Mm.
just want to find out from you what actually got you into thinking more about your financial future and making your plan financially. What was the trigger point?
Well, I think I've been in sales and business and marketing for about 34 years. In the last 13 years, I've been in financial education. I spent many of my early years getting people into debt because I didn't really know. I just did what my boss told me to do, selling cars, selling financial services products, or loans and things like that. Um, Really, when I kind of started to learn about financial education, when I started to learn, I first thing I identified is that I had loads of debt. I thought I was really good with money, but in reality, I had about 95,000 in personal debt, and I thought that was okay because the banks kept lending me money, so I must be good
Right.
for it. Um, and it was only when I started to really understand, I thought, man, I'm doing this wrong. I need to make some changes. And thankfully, doing what we do, you also get to learn it too. And so I learned how to apply strategies and principles to become debt free. Became debt free from 95,000 in personal debt. Became debt free within just a few years, and thankfully we managed to kind of maintain those principles in our life to be relatively comfortable now.
Okay, so you talked about learning some strategies and stuff like that. How did you go about learning that? Because if say for instance I am in debt and I'm looking to come out of debt, and you've said I have to learn some strategies. My first question would be, where do I learn those strategies from? Where are they? Where can I find them? What do I need to
What
do?
it's a great question because the problem is you've got different types of people. You've got some people that they're the DIY people. They want to do it themselves, right? Do it yourself. They're the ones that are going to go online, go to the internet, and try and find it. And hopefully they stumble across the right video, hopefully like this one, the right video, the right post or blog or whatever, and they get some good information. Some people will they'll go and pay an expert to coach them or advise them. Um, but most people don't really do much. They just remain in this kind of blissful ignorance, and it's only blissful when you don't know where you are. And so for most people, they don't really know where to go. And
Okay.
so one of the things that we do in our business is we focus on helping one family at a time, giving them financial education, not just generally, but more specifically to their
Okay.
personal circumstance.
Bespoke.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of places. The challenge is knowing what's actually real and right, because unfortunately, most of the time, someone's trying to sell you something.
Okay, and I like the part about you knowing what is right and what is wrong. How do I know what is right? I'm desperate. I'm in a situation where I'm in debt. I don't have a good financial plan, and I know I need a financial plan. It's just that I'm not disciplined. How do I know when I meet someone or I meet go to an organization that says to me, you know what, we can help you out of this situation? How do I know I've gone approach the right organization? What kind of things do I need to look out for?
It's a good question. I think the challenge you have as a consumer is you've got a lot of people trying to sell you things. You've got debt management companies trying to sell you debt management, and it's not always the right thing. For example, so some debt management companies, will sell that solution because that's how they make their money. I believe it was a few years ago that the FCA closed down a whole bunch of those kind of companies. Um, I think the best way to look at it is most solutions are actually common sense and they're logical. The problem with common sense is it's not that common.
Right.
Most people have common knowledge but not common practice.
Okay.
And so I'd say it has to make sense. And if you're not sure, then test it against something else. There is always other things you can look at. Um, if someone says to you, you can accelerate and pay your debt off more quickly, well, that's quite easy to determine because you can look at how many pounds are you going to pay and how many pounds less are you going to pay. So it
Right.
often is logical. The problem is most people don't know how to get started.
Okay. Okay. And I mean, you and I know that when it comes to financial planning, I mean, when you talk about finance, there are two key elements of finance. We're looking at expenditure and income. I mean, that is fundamentally, this is what
Yeah.
forms a financial plan. Now, my question to you then is, in your particular case, having been someone who's gone through the process of being heavily in debt and having managed to come out of it now, and we're going to share, I mean, talk about your story in later, but what processes did you have to go through to develop a suitable financial plan? Because people may be listening and wanting to understand how they have to go through, what process they need to go through, what disciplines they need to put in place to be able
Mm.
to ensure that they have a suitable financial plan. And when I talk about suitable financial plan, I mean a plan on paper that is implemented.
Yeah.
Because a plan on paper that is not implemented is obviously useless.
Yeah.
So we want something. How do I ensure that I've got suitable? What do you do to ensure that you've got suitable financial plan?
Well, again, how we do what we do, and again, everyone's going to maybe have their own way. For me personally, it's the first step is to identify where you are. Okay, so you
Okay.
need to know, where's all your money going? What do you? So the basic fundamentals is have a budget. Okay, where do you
Right.
spend all your money on a month-to-month basis? Second thing is, what debt do you have? So and where are those debts? Look at your credit cards, your loans, and so on. So these are the two kind of starting points. Do you save any money? If not, why not? Have you not got enough to save? So the first thing is identify where you are by looking at factual stuff. Now, this can also be hard because it's kind of scary sometimes opening those brown envelopes that come in with credit card statements that you can't really pay. And so a lot of times you'll find people kind of they've got a strategy, but their strategy is like the ostrich, is sticking their head in the sand and hoping it's all going to go away somewhere. But it doesn't work like that. So you have to, with every problem, financial or otherwise, the first step is to acknowledge that you have a
A
challenge.
problem.
You know,
Okay.
the next thing then is you've got to. There are strategies you can learn. So whether it be a strategy to accelerate and pay your mortgage off quicker. Now,
Okay.
the simple strategy to do that, if you want to pay your loans and credit cards off, there's a way. There are several ways actually that you can prioritize debts and what to pay. The problem is that we all been taught the wrong things. See, it's not about a lack of financial education, Marcus. It's actually a systematic miseducation.
Right.
So for example, we're taught to ask the wrong questions. So for example, when we go and get a car loan, we
Yeah.
we ask questions like, what's the APR, right?
Yeah.
What's the interest? Now, does anybody on this call know how to work out an APR? Most people don't know. They just know it's
Right.
something that gets quoted mainly by people that have got percentages on their windows,
That's correct.
because the people who sell loans. But actually, so we're asked the interest rate and we ask how much is the monthly payment. Well, of
Right.
course, they change depending on term and things like that. So the questions really we should ask are things like, how many pounds will I pay in total? Okay, because that's something you can actually compare pounds versus pounds,
Right.
apples against apples, if you like. And how soon will I pay it off? Because then it's a finite amount of time. So these are two questions you should ask, but actually they're two questions that typically you don't.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes. Yes. So just to recap, you from what you said, it's important that you kind of identify where you are financially.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, identification is one thing. But I mean, I always say that you can identify what the problem is or what the challenge is, but you've got to have some form of discipline to be able to step forward and say, look, you know what, this is the problem. I've caused the problem myself, or maybe through no fault of mine. This is the problem I found myself in. I have the willingness, the willpower
Mm.
to change it. Where, in your experience, why is it that in some cases people actually know what the problem is,
but
are not able to change it. What
again,
is the issue?
do you know what? It's really, that is the heart of the matter. And again, I think it also, so you said something which is really key, which is discipline. You see, you need to have discipline. But then the question is, well, how do I have the discipline to make the right choices? Okay. Our whole life is made up of choices. In fact, if I ask everybody on the call today, um, would you agree that you are in the financial situation you are right now as a direct result of the choices that you've made up to this point? The answer's got to be yes, right? You made choices. Now, I remember doing that at an event once, and I shouted that out, and somebody shouted back, "But Steve, my wife spends all my money." And I said, "But you chose to marry her, so it's still your choice, right?" So there's still a choice that led to where you are right now.
Okay.
But the key is you have to learn to make good decisions, good choices. So discipline is important. So the question is, but I'm sure there's people watching this that have said, but I know the choices I need to make, but I don't make the right choices. Well, the question then is, well, why don't you make the right choices?
That's
And
correct.
the reason most of the time is that you don't have a clear, concise mental picture. You don't have a clear idea of where you want to be. And one of the keys is, and I teach this a lot in goal achieving, is that you've got to learn to connect your goals with emotion, because it's your emotion that causes you to take the right action. Okay.
Yes.
And so how do you do that? Well, if you've got debt and you want to be debt free, the first thing you do is say, well, what does it mean to be debt free? What does it take? And how much do I need to pay off? What's it going to take in terms of time and effort and strategies? How's it going to feel when it's debt free? How's it going to feel if I don't get debt free? These are all important things, right? Because if you connect your goal with emotion, then you tend to make the right choice.
Okay.
If you don't, then when you're shopping and you see some shoes on sale, you say,
Yes.
"Oh, I need new shoes." Now, you don't need
Okay.
shoes. You're wearing shoes, right? You don't need them. You're not barefoot. So you say, "I need shoes." And what you do is you do this thing called buying with emotion and justifying with logic.
Right.
Okay. I
Yeah.
need them because I need black shoes because I've only got brown shoes. Well, no, you still got shoes. So you have to weigh your immediate goals, or your immediate pleasure, your immediate gratification against your future goals. But if you don't know what those goals are, and if you're not committed to them, then you make the wrong choice.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. I like that. I like the bit about the emotions, because a lot of the time what you find out is that we have that thing where people act on impulse. And this is one of the easiest way to get yourself deeply into debt and not execute a financial plan, because you act on impulse. You get into a shop and you see something, and then you feel attracted to whatever it is, and then you just feel, look, you know what, I just need this. And you're right, sometimes, most of the time, you don't need it. You just want it. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you, Steve, so we've talked about a financial plan, what it is, and all of that. There are key elements of the financial plan. So what my question is, what constitutes a good financial plan? When somebody is directing me through a plan, what is it that I expect to hear? Elements of the plan that should tell me, actually, I'm on track. And that should cause, to use your term, my emotions to be aroused to think,
Hmm.
you know what, I'm on track here to make the right decisions, and I'm on track here to achieve what I set out to achieve. So what is it that constitutes a
Okay,
good
so
financial
so
plan?
one of the things that we teach, and we really kind of show people how to implement this. And again, obviously, it's hard on a call like this, but it's all about building a financial house. And like every house, there's a foundation, and there are different floors in the house. So the foundation of your financial house is protection for your family, because if you have a liability, as in debt or a mortgage or anything like that, then that liability is there, and it needs to be protected. So God forbid the worst were to happen and someone passed away, there needs to be some way that liability is taken care of. Okay, so that is the first kind of the foundation of a financial house. The next floor of the financial house is your where you spend your money. So your debt. So if you're spending debt, so the second thing you need to do is focus on getting out of debt quicker. Okay, so protection, getting out of debt quicker. The third thing is looking at your outgoings, your expenses, and cutting back on those things, because one of the things you mentioned earlier, the very basics is that you want to spend less money than you earn, right? It's income and expenditure
Yes,
in
right.
business and in personal finances. So where do you spend your money and where can you cut back on that? So often
Right.
when we do exercises with clients, we can find £200 or £300 in their budget that they don't need to spend. One of the things we do in our family habitually, every few months we review our budget. Even though we can afford it, we make more than we need, we still review our budget because so often there's money that you're spending on apps or subscriptions that you forgot about, because it was on your phone and you forgot. So, and that's just money that's going to waste. It's just throwing your money away. So the first one was protection, debt, expenses. Then you got to look at investing. Where do you invest your money? What do you do for your future? Do you save any money? Do you have an emergency fund, for example? And then finally, the roof of the house, the fifth floor, if you like, is income. How do you increase your income? For most people, an extra £1,000 a month would have a massive impact on their family life. Just 1,000,
Okay.
many less than that. So
Right.
that's kind of again, a very brief look at building a financial house. Obviously, I can go
Okay.
a lot about every floor, but
Right.
our time today.
That's really useful. I like a bit about. I mean, so far as I'm concerned, it always has to do with income and expenditure, because really, basically, if you can reduce your expenses, then you have some surplus income that you can
Yeah,
use for investment. That's what you said. Okay,
absolutely.
so we'll be talking about financial security shortly, but just before we talk about financial security, what can I just ask? When is a financial plan not effective?
Well, when you don't do it, the fact is you can have, I could give you the perfect financial game plan. I could say, I can actually say, look, this is your debt freedom date based on what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And this is your new debt freedom date based on that. And this is how many pounds you'll save in interest. And this is how many years you're going to save. I can give you that. But if you just keep doing the same things that got you into debt in the first place, it
Yes.
doesn't work. It takes the word that you used earlier. It takes discipline.
Right. Right.
It doesn't work if you don't follow the steps. Like a sat nav. If you get your sat nav and you put your destination in, and then you decide just to drive your own way, and the hope that one day you might get to the destination, you're not going to get the destination.
No way.
You have to get a specific route to follow.
That's
And
correct.
that's why doing it yourself is often hard because you're not the sat nav. You can't see all the different roads. You're just
Okay.
kind of guessing. And often when you guess wrong.
Okay. So it's not just about having the plan, it's about implementing that plan to the letter and
Absolutely.
having that discipline to implement the plan. So one other thing that we want to talk about tonight is financial security, because I know that, well, you can have a plan, but also one of the main reasons why people want to have a financial plan is so that they can secure themselves the future financially. So what in your opinion is financial security, and how does one achieve financial security?
Okay. So again, there's different ways you can look at this, and you've got different formulas and all this sort of thing. But I think in its bare essential way, you know, security is wealth, money, assets, um, income streams. This is security.
Right.
Okay. And then you've got the other side of it, which is your liabilities. Okay, so
Yes.
or you could call it responsibilities.
That's
Okay,
right. Yes.
so for example, that might be children, house, mortgage, providing for your family. So these are responsibilities, and when you're kind of making money, you're earning a living, you have big responsibilities. When you have a mortgage and debt, you've got big responsibilities, children, but often what that means is you've got to then make the money to cover those responsibilities. But the problem comes when that money disappears, you get made redundant, sickness comes, you can't work because of that, or you pass away.
Yes.
Now you've got big responsibilities, but with no security.
Right.
And so this is why things like protection, life cover is important, because what that does, it's like it gives you, it's a bit like, I heard it described once, it's like having a check
Right.
written out to you for however many £100,000. So if you've got £300,000 of responsibilities or liabilities, then it's like having a check written out to £300,000. And basically it's stuck on the wall and it's behind the glass and it says, in emergency break glass. And it basically says, and all you've got to do to keep that live, that check live, is you just got to keep feeding the meter every month. Now we call that a monthly premium. You keep paying a premium every month, and it means that should somebody die, the family can break the glass and take that check and take care of those responsibilities.
Okay.
And so, you know, you have to, if you don't, now, if you have money, so if you have £300,000 in the bank, you don't need life cover or protection because you already have the security to take care of the responsibilities.
Okay.
If you don't, then you need to do what we call renting wealth whilst you accumulate wealth.
I see. Okay. Okay. So I'm just having listened to you. I'm just trying to think that if you want to put this in a lay person's language, financial security can refer to sort of the peace of mind you feel when you are not worried about your income being enough to cover your expenses.
Yeah.
Or it also means that you have enough money saved to cover emergencies and your future financial goals, something like that.
Yeah,
So basically, you have that secure in that way.
Yeah, there's different things. So there's security in terms of you make enough money that you've got extra. That's a level of security. Although most families are one month away from financial ruin. If they didn't get paid, they couldn't survive. You know, so there's that side of it. But of course, there's no such thing as job security these days because, you know, we all know people who've been made redundant, right? So there's no such thing as job security. So you need to take the money you earn and you need to do smart things with it. So one of the things you alluded to is, you know, you have some savings, you had an emergency fund to make sure that, God forbid, something happens, you've got money there to make sure the bills are paid for a number of months.
Okay.
You know? Second thing is, you know, you invest money so that when you get to the point where you can no longer work, hopefully that's your retirement age, you have money set aside in you know, pension pots or investment plans or whatever, in order to make sure that you don't need to earn money because you've got money working for you rather than you working for money.
Right.
You know, so there are lots of different elements to this. The challenge for most people is they can't even pay their bills right now, so they don't save or they don't invest.
Okay.
Which is why reducing outgoings can help that.
That's good. That's correct. Okay, so just for those who have just joined us, we are talking to Mr. Steve Albridge. Steve is the National Sales Director at Genistar Limited, and Genistar is a services organization, financial service organization that is making a lot of impact in the UK financial. I mean, at the moment. Steve is here to talk about financial planning and financial security. And just to remind you, if you have any questions for Steve, please put those questions in the chat, and then we will try and go through as many of the questions as possible. And then secondly, if you want if you have any questions after the program and you want us to respond to it, please email those questions to businessandexpertsforum@gmail.com. That is businessandexpertsforum@gmail.com. We'll endeavor to send those questions to Steve, and we'll get back to you with the responses. And also remember to subscribe to the channel. So, right, let's get back to the questions again, Steve. Still on financial security. You have mentioned one or two elements of financial security. I know you mentioned something like life cover, life insurance.
Yeah.
What are some of the components? I mean, life cover is one of them. What are some of the other things that you need to think about when we are thinking about financial security?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, and remember, every person's different. There are some things that are very common, but everyone's situation is a little different. So, for example, some of the things like the fundamentals that probably most people should have. Most people that tick certain boxes. So, for example, people with big responsibilities like families, for example, life cover, serious and critical illness cover are important because these are things that are outside your control. If something happens, not a lot you can do about that. You know, things like income protection is another one that, again, it kind of covers your income if you're off sick.
Okay. Okay. Can I just stop you there quickly, Steve? You mentioned critical illness cover. Can you explain to our listeners or our audience
Yeah.
What for people who are not aware of it, or people who don't know what it is, what first of all life cover is, what critical illness cover is, what income protection is, so that
Okay.
people understand what
Sure.
these things are, and there's a reason why they are referred to
So
as
life
financial
cover
security.
is quite simply just means that you pay a monthly premium to an insurance company, and they basically it's like they say to you, okay, if you keep paying this, if you die at any time within this period, whether that's 20, 30 years, whatever the term of the policy is, we will pay this much money out to your estate, which hopefully would be your family.
That's correct.
So that's very simple. Okay, that's the very basic type of insurance.
Right.
The second one, serious and critical illness cover, and there's slight differences, but that is for a specific set of conditions. So, for example, it could be things like cancer, strokes, some of the major conditions. Different companies offer different amounts of cover. So, for example, a lot of companies offer 60 or 70 conditions covered. The company we work with is 182. So again, you need to kind of do your research or talk to someone that knows to know kind of where to go for that. But basically, it pays out if somebody, for example, was diagnosed with cancer. Depending on the policy you had, it might pay out a certain amount of money to kind of help with that recovery and so on.
Right.
There are sort of more detail on that, but that's kind of the basics. And then income protection it's similar but different in that instead of paying a lump sum out, which is what serious and critical illness does, income protection actually pays out a monthly amount. So you get a monthly amount. Let's call it £1,000, for example, that you say, if I am off sick from work, I'm unable to work for certain reasons, then it will pay X amount per month until I can get back into work. Okay, so that's kind of a basic understanding of income protection. Then you have things like private medical, which again, obviously we don't need to go on about waiting lists right now, but
Right.
private medical is a thing where you pay a premium, and it means you get access to private medical, in terms of GPs and doctors and so on, and generally quicker.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That's interesting. I mean, these things you've mentioned are key, and it's important for our audience to know that these are policies that are sold by insurance companies or well
Yeah.
security companies and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. If I approach an insurance company,
Mm.
how do I know I'm being sold the right thing? I'm financially not literate
Yeah.
or not, so I'm financially not savvy as an
Well,
individual.
absolutely.
How do I know?
That's part of the problem, Marcus. Is you can go to an insurance company and say, I would like a quote, and if you say to them, how much do I need, they can't actually tell you. They're not allowed to, because that would be advising you, and it's a non-advice. So if you went to a financial advisor or somebody like us, then of course we can give you a bit more guidance as to how to work out what you need and things like that.
Hmm.
If you just phone a company up and say, they'll say, well, how much cover do you want? And you go, and one of the biggest things I come across with clients is you ask the question, first of all, have you got any cover in place? And they'll say yes or no. If they say yes, the next question I ask is, well, how did you work out how much cover you need? And they say, oh, I don't know. That's just what the guy in the bank told me, or that's just. So then we say, well, let me teach you how to work it out for yourself so you can
Okay.
understand. If what you've got is good, great, keep it. But if it's not good, then at least you know, so you can make the necessary changes if you need to.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. All right. So that's good. So, I mean, we were talking very soon about the kind of financial education that Jenny Star provides to their clients. But before we get to that, I just want to know how do I know as an individual if I am financially secure? How do I know?
Well, financial security and financial freedom are different to different people. I
Okay.
mean, there are formula you can find on Facebook about financial independence to somebody is 25 times your annual income would be considered financially independent. For other
Right.
people, it might be different. So it's not just a simple answer of, well, this is it. But really, I would say that if you have enough money saved or enough assets to give you the income that you need, that you no longer need to work, then that would be a good example of financial independence. But of course, somebody may need 5,000 a month to be financially independent. Somebody might need 1,000 a month. So it depends on you and where you live and what kind of lifestyle you want. So it's, again, it kind of comes back to what we were saying before about understanding what your goals are. That's what you
Okay.
need to know. And the way you do that is ask, well, what kind of life do I want? What will it cost? What do I need to do to get there? So again,
Okay.
it's all kind of tied in.
Okay, okay, and I think some of the signs that you can that can give you an indication that you are becoming financially secure are things like when you have little or no debt, or when you can pay your monthly expenses with just yours or your spouse's income. You don't have to borrow money to pay your expenses,
Having
or you can pay your
disposable income
yeah.
means you could be on the right track
Yes,
potentially.
so you can pay your bills on time, you have adequate
Yeah.
emergency fund, your net worth is growing year after year, things like that, just to ensure that that kind of tells you that you are on track to
But
be
you mentioned
financially
net
secure.
worth, Marcus, and again, for people in business or accountancy, that's a very common term. The
Right.
problem is for most people who are not in those areas, they don't even know what net worth
So
means.
do you want to quickly explain that to
Yeah, so
people?
I guess the best way to explain it, as I do with a client, is this: if you sold everything you owned and paid off everything you owed,
Yeah,
whatever the figure is left, that is what you are worth in financial terms.
that's correct.
That's what's considered your net worth. Now, and if that number is not enough for you to live on for the rest of your life, then it's probably too small.
And that number can be negative.
Absolutely. In fact, in many cases, it is negative. I've had somebody say to me, well, I'm worth 1 million because I've got a house that's worth 1 million. And then I said, well, how much do you owe on the house and on other things? And it was 900,000. So I said, actually, so really you're worth 100,000, not a
Yeah,
million,
yeah.
you
But
know?
then now this is only talking about the income. So when you talk about all the other liabilities that they have on top of the house,
Yeah.
then you can say that maybe that 100,000 you're talking about is even part of it will still be eroded by other liabilities that they haven't talked to you about. So they may end up having net worth of minus 20,000 or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have one question in the chat before we move on. I just want to read that. There's a question that says that what are some of the investment plans you can take?
You know, thanks for the question. You know, it's one of those things that there are lots of different investment opportunities, and one of the things that we don't do is we don't say, right, you should invest in X, Y, Z, because first of all, with investments, there's obviously liability attached to that, and the challenge is that it's a hard one because with investment, you really need to go to investment professionals because what they do
That's
now, we
correct.
refer our clients to investment professionals that will look at your situation, that will give you some advice that says this is the fund or the investment vehicle you should use for what you want to achieve. Because it's all about everyone's different. Because I might have I might be very risk averse, which means I don't like risk. I'd rather take a lower return on a lower, less risky investment, or I might be quite risky and think, no, no, put it all in 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 there because I know I've got a chance of making it, but of course I've got more chance of losing it too.
Right.
So there's also things like it's not just funds or monies or pension. It could be properties. It could be everything from wine to gold to whatever. Um, so it's not for us to tell you this is where you should invest your money.
Okay.
Um, so what we typically do is say, well, the first thing I'd say, just generally speaking, is if you don't have any savings, you might not want to start. You might want to start getting some savings first of all, or at the same time, because when you invest, the key thing to remember, it's for the medium to long term.
That's correct. Yes.
Saving is for the short to medium term, but investing is medium to long term. And but there is a principle that you can. It really helps if you understand this. And again, perhaps Marcus, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen and I'll show them the rule of
Yeah, I
70.
was I was actually gonna I was just really gonna say that before you share your screen about the principle, I know that Jenny Star does a lot of financial education. I mean courses and seminars and things
Mm.
like that. But we do have a video of one of your clients whose
Yeah.
life was actually turned around from where she was to where she is now, having been through some of your classes and some of
Yeah.
the things that you guys teach. And I
I
want our
also
audience to listen listen
Yeah.
to the testimony that is on video. You
And
want to say something before the video?
she actually became a vice president in our team as well. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So
right,
let's listen to Caroline's story.
cool.
Coming up shortly.
My name is Carolina Reinhardt. I'm a mother of 4 kids. I'm originally from Bolivia. I met my husband in the United States, and we've been married 17 years.
A few years ago, I was invited to go and speak at an event, and it was just an hour slot. And I went to the coffee break after my slot, and I got chatting to this young lady, and we exchanged numbers, and just chatting over coffee as you do. And I remember that we had connected on Facebook, and that was really it. And a few months later, I messaged her on Facebook. And I said, hey, how are things going? And normally when you do that, you expect a response like, yeah, fine, how are you? Well, that's not the response I got. In fact, the response I got was disastrous. My life is a mess right now. I'm on medication for depression. I'm struggling. I'm signed off work. I got £23,000 of credit card debt. And me and my husband and my 4 children have just been evicted from our house. We're living in a 2-bedroom temporary accommodation flat.
And I remember my rep coming and doing the plan while all my boxes were there. And it was amazing because not only she showed us this concept, but she showed us hope that we can do the right things, our life will change. So when we had our plan, we find out that we were £23,000 in debt. So on top of being, struggling financially with depression, anxiety, no money, no home, finding out that you had £23,000 and you have 4 kids, it was hard. It really, really hit me.
It just happened that we had a big event coming up the following week. Just good timing, I guess. And so what we did is we got her a ticket to that event. We made sure that she had a hotel room to stay in for a couple of nights, and so she could attend the whole thing. And she came along, and she was pretty nervous to start with. And I remember at the end of that event, we had kind of a team breakout session, and she came and gave us a big hug. And with tears streaming down her face, she said, "You're going to change my life."
And when I saw this plan and I saw, the guidance and the clarity that we do what it says in the plan, there is hope and the future can change. So we decided with my husband, we're going to apply everything that we learned. And I joined the mission to empower families to turn their life around as well.
So let's fast forward to just a few months ago. The same lady, no longer suffering depression, no longer on medication, no longer in the job that she was signed off from, moved into a new house. She paid £17,000 off of her credit card debt. She has savings in her bank account and her children's bank accounts. And she became a vice president in the company.
And it's all thanks to this financial education. So I am really now passionate about and on a mission to empower families to have this knowledge, the same knowledge that transformed my life and my husband. Thank you, Genestar.
Okay, so it's very interesting, this video, when I watched it, Steve, because there are a lot of people, or there are many people who may be on this program tonight, or who may watch this program later on, once it's loaded on YouTube, who can relate to this lady's story. It's an amazing story. And the thing I like about it is that she talks about some of the key elements of it. There was a plan. So Genestar taught her about coming up with a plan, helped her to develop a plan. But she also went on to say that she did what the plan said to do. So there is a planning bit, there is a doing bit that you have to pay attention to. And she talked about the knowledge that she acquired and which she wants to share with other people. An amazing story. And I just want to share with let our audience know this is not a story out of the blue. This is real story. This is somebody who you've actually interacted with, Steve, and they've actually helped. The Jenny-Star have actually helped to turn her life around. So it's not something a video that has been plucked out of the air. The people in the video are real people that you've actually interacted with, Steve.
In fact, Marcus, I can tell you that Caroline is actually watching right now. She's actually on the call right now. I've just seen her pop up and say hello to everyone. So she's actually on here. So this is a real person who's really on, and she just said hello.
That's correct. I can see that. Just hi everyone. Hi Caroline. It's lovely to listen to your story. It's an amazing story, and I'm praying that other people will take a cue from you and kind of we'll talk about education. Well, I mean, we'll give the opportunity for people to kind of enroll in some of these financial education that Steve Jenny-Star runs, so they can turn their lives around just as you did. So well done for doing that.
And also, Marcus, just to update that, when I did that video with Carolina, she had paid off 17,000 of her 23,000. Obviously, that video is out of date because she's completely debt free now, not just 17,000. And by the way, that 23,000 was paid off. I think it was within 18 months. Carolina can let me know that, but I'm pretty sure it was within 18 months since I met her. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, there you go. Every time you see that video, it makes you cry. That's an interesting story, Carolina, and well done. Okay, Steve, we kind of coming to the end of the program now. Before we go, I just wanted to share this strategy about the rule of 72 because it's an eye opener for me when I got to know about it,
Yes.
and I think it will be an eye opener for a lot of our audience. So if you want to share that quickly, and then we can wrap up.
Sure, I will do. So this is a secret, okay, everybody. So this is something that the banks don't want you to know, all right? And you can Google this for yourself, by the way. This doesn't belong to us. You can check it out online. But basically, it's called the Rule of 72. And the Rule of 72 is an old banking principle. And it really just shows you how long it takes money to double at a certain interest rate. And it works whether you're borrowing or saving. But if you're investing, it kind of tells you why you need to get higher returns on your money. So let me explain how it works. So basically, if you've got £10,000, I know some of you are thinking that would be nice. But if you've got £10,000 and you put it in the bank and you're able to get, say, 3%, okay?
Yes.
The way this works is if you divide the interest rate, in this case 3, into the number 72, it tells you the number of years it takes to double your money. So for your 10,000 to become 20,000. So this is how it works. So 3 divided into 72 goes 24 times. So it tells you it takes 24 years for your money to double. Now, I can tell without even looking at all of you that you're not impressed by that. Okay. But don't worry, because in 24 more years, it doubles again. So after 48 years, your 10,000 has grown to 40,000.
You may not be alive.
Right. And it doesn't take into consideration inflation either.
Okay.
So let's imagine you could double the interest rate and you can get 6%. So the same principle, 6 into 72, you'd assume that it would double, right? But actually it doesn't double because money doesn't work like that. In fact, it quadruples because it's all about the doubling periods. If you remember that the higher the interest, the shorter the doubling periods, okay? Well, shorter the time between doubling periods. So at 6%, after the same period of time, 48 months, you'd have 160,000. So let's look at a scenario. Let's say you take your £10,000, you put it in the bank, and you're able to get 3%, which probably right now you're not going to get. You know, if you go to your bank statement, look in your savings, you might be getting 0.1%. Not even 0.1, or less sometimes. So let's say the bank takes our money, they immediately put it into their lending division and then lend it out on credit cards at 20, 25%, or maybe those payday loan companies at 4,000%. But let's imagine, or they invest it into the global economy and maybe at 12, 13, 14%. Now, how much is the bank going to make on our money if they only get 12%, not even 25? So it quadrupled here when you double the interest rate. So maybe if you want to type in the chat window what you think would happen here, and if you're on my team, don't type it in there because you know the answer. Okay, if you're not anything to do with me, then type it. But you think it would quadruple. But actually, 12 divided into 72 goes 6 times. So the doubling periods are every 6 years. So that means in half the time, it's gone to 160. In the same time, it goes up to 2.56 million pounds. It doesn't quadruple, it's much bigger than that. Can you see? So the bank gives us 40,000,
And it
but they
makes
get
2.5 million.
2.5 million.
That's
Can
it.
you see why the banks don't want us to know this? They want us to keep putting our money here so they can keep putting it here and making all the money. So one of the things that we encourage our clients to do is to beat the banks. Now, I know after watching this the first time, you feel like beating the bank with a big stick. That's not how you beat the bank. You basically learn how to get the rule of 72 working for you rather than for the banks. Okay? So that's the rule of 72. Again, Google this and
Okay.
you'll
Okay. So what's going to happen is that we've more or less come to the end of the program, Steve. Next time you come on, you're going to take us through this rule of 72 better, and then we teach us about the strategies that people can learn, strategies that people can adopt to beat the bank, because you just said you can beat the bank. So the banks don't want you to do the 12%, they want to do the 12%. Why they give you 3%? So what can we do as individual? But this is not for now, this is when you come the next time in another
I
episode.
mean, it kind of starts with a financial game plan, to be honest,
Yeah.
Marcus, because that's, remember, the investing is the fourth floor of the financial house.
That's
You need to
correct.
get the other three in place first, because otherwise you're kind of fooling yourself.
Okay. Right. All too soon, I think we've more or less exhausted our time. It's very interesting, isn't it? It's when you are learning so much, you realize that there's very limited time, and there's a reason why we keep this program short, so that people who watch it later will not feel that you have to sit for a long time behind the screen and be watching it. The idea is that we can people can watch it in a short time period of time and then get as much as possible. So just to recap quickly some of the key points that you've made, Steve. One of the things you said is that you have to focus on focus. What's it? It's important to acknowledge that you have a challenge or you have a problem when you are in debt. And you also said something about learning the strategies and prioritizing debts. Okay, you said something about being disciplined, learn to make good decisions and good choices. Don't follow your emotions. There was something else you said about learn to connect your goal with your emotion. So when you want to achieve a goal, make sure that your emotions go with it. Just make sure you pursue your goal with that emotion in mind, or applying the emotion. It said that it's emotion that causes you to take the right decision. Now, weigh your immediate gratification with your goal. That was a very key point as well. And you also said something about ask yourself, where do you invest your money? How do you increase your income? And it's important to implement the plan. When there is a plan, the plan is meaningless unless you implement it. When it comes to security, security could be wealth, could be money, could be assets, could be income streams. And then finally, you said something about investing is for medium term to long term. That is important, that when you're investing, know that it's not like investing today and getting the money back immediately. And then you also have to learn the rule of 72. You can Google the app and make sure that rule of 72 works for you. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's what you said. So I was just going to say that, you know what, we're going to bring you back again, Steve. Unfortunately, we ran out of time for this on this program. Normally, what we do on this program is that we put you on the spot. So I'm going to just ask you quickly and put you on the spot quickly, see how you respond to it. You said to me in your bio that you've been to Nigeria. So I'm going to ask you to say thanks for watching in Yoruba, because you said to me that you learned a little bit of Yoruba. So do you want to try saying thanks for watching in Yoruba?
I can't say that. I don't know. I would butcher that language. I've also been to Ghana and I couldn't say it in Ghanaian either. So
Okay.
I've been
All
to
right.
Nigeria 9 times.
We'll let you off. We'll let you off,
Thank
Steve.
you.
So it is the time to just put your hands together for Steve, and just to say thank you very much, Steve. I know you're a very busy man, but you've made time to come and talk to us this evening. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure my audience has learned a lot as well. And for you, the audience out there, I always say to you that without you, this program goes nowhere. So thanks for being there, and then make sure that you share this program with your friends and loved ones and your families. This is an opportunity for people to learn. It's a knowledge sharing forum. So please let people come on. It's free. The only thing it costs you is about 45 to 50 minutes of your time every 2 weeks on a Monday. And please remember, we're here again next 2 weeks, Monday. And we have a gentleman who you want to listen to. This is somebody who is a multi-talented young man, into music, into property investment, into entrepreneurship. It's into so many things. So join us again in 2 weeks on the same platform, Business and Experts Forum. And please remember, if you have any questions beyond the program, please post those questions to Business and Experts Forum at gmail.com. Business and Experts Forum at gmail.com. And we endeavor to respond to those questions, and then we'll get back to you. If you need to contact Steve, send a message to Business and Experts Forum at gmail.com, and we'll try and connect you with Steve. So once again, Steve, thank you very much for coming in. I know it was a bit of a short notice, but you honored it, and I'm really grateful that you honored it. So until we'll come away again in 2 weeks' time from the Business and Experts Forum, please remember to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so that when there is a new episode, you can receive it. So until I come your way again next 2 weeks, this is Marco saying bye for now, and thanks for watching.